Welcome to the Heart of Show Business. I am your host, Alexia Melocchi. I believe in great storytelling and that every successful artist has a deep desire to express something from the heart to create a ripple effect in our society. I can't wait to hear her tell me her story. So welcome, Amy Jan, to the special Modern Day Wife podcast episode of the Heart of Show Business.
I'm so excited to be here and to be a part of your show. Truly an honor.
Do you feel that when you are, say, an immigrant to this country, and it's no discredit to us, but do we have to work harder to make our voices heard and to break stereotypes and molds and beyond, obviously, the glass ceiling of being a woman?
I do, and it's a blessing in disguise, I feel, because again, it number one makes your skin super thick. Like the simplest things might break somebody that is from this country that won't break us because we've been through it so many times. And then when somebody looks at you, there's so many unconscious biases that immediately take place. Maybe they had an experience with somebody that looked like you that was negative. Maybe they had a positive experience. There's so many things that you don't know. And if you have an accent, like I would see in my mom, so many times we would go someplace and when she would speak, the salesperson would not, be as in tuned and supportive. And then when I'm a child, but I speak without an accent and they're completely, focused and, oh, yes. So I would see that. Absolutely. And it's unfortunate, but I do think as a nation, as more people have more avenues to talk about these differences that people experience every day, I mean, the more vocal we are, the more we have a chance to change it, and get rid of those unconscious biases and really embrace the diversity that our beautiful country, employs for everybody.
What a beautiful answer. And ain't that the truth? Thank God, the world is changing slowly and finally, people are embracing our differences. It's not anything to be shameful for, whether it's our body size, whether it's our age, whether it's our nationality. I think that there is so many more opportunities. I love when you talk to me about the story with your mom and the fact that she would trade manicures in order to have someone help you with school. That is so beautiful because I actually do believe that we are in a very wonderful time where we can impart our knowledge and our wisdom to those that need it the most. And people are always thinking, oh, one more business coach, one more life coach, one more thing. That is not true, people. There is room for everyone because, people are going to gravitate towards you for certain things, people that will gravitate to me for other things. There is room for everything. It's a little bit like dating or choosing a psychologist or choosing your hairdresser or whoever. You're going to go with who you gravitate towards the most and whoever you have the most beautiful experience with. With your business coaching, what do you think would be the takeaway that or the first win or action step that your future client will be getting?
I don't just accept anybody that signs up and thinks that I am their right coach. I go through like an application process because I want to make sure what you're looking for is something that I can provide you with. I do not waste time. Time is our most precious currency that can't be bought. So number one process for me is applying. Let me see what you need. I want to know what you're looking to get. And then, yes, there's a discovery call where we spend 30 minutes to an hour. And basically, I'm sponging and understanding what you're doing currently. Let's take a look at what you do on the day-to-day. How can we maximize your efforts daily? How can we generate more profit? How can we, establish a stronger footprint for you across, our soft channels these days? And what makes you happy? I was a software engineer. Yes, I was good at it, but it didn't make me happy. So if I had a coach then, I would want them to figure out how they could take my skill set and what I had invested in and turn it into something that would make me happy, which is like what I'm doing today.
is there any life mantra that you want to share with our listeners as to if they're having a dark moment, what would you tell them they do in order to shift their energy and get out of the hole?
Yeah, absolutely. We in Persian culture, we have a ton of sayings. And I feel like half of my life has just been a repeat of sayings and sayings and sayings. But one that really helps me out, we have a saying that says, you can't make a sound when you try to clap with one hand, right? So, it doesn't work. What's the point of getting all this success and financial, freedom if you cannot expend it on others and see the joy? That feeling, like money is great, but the joy that you see in helping somebody else, that's just, it's priceless. Make sure you're clapping with two hands to make that sound, and don't always just look to yourself. It's good to start there, but also look to your network and beyond.
I have a very special guest with me who is a singer, songwriter, and musician out of Hungary. Her name is Barbara Nadas. Let's talk about a little bit your career, because I've read about you on your website, of course, and you started very young, and I think one of the people that you were inspired by was Amy Winehouse, because you just didn't want to sing other people's lyrics. You wanted to write your own. So what was the journey like for you? I mean, did you just say, I'm just going to drop everything and I'm going to do it? Or was it a journey?
It was definitely a journey. I mean, I used to perform even as a kid. I used to play in a teenage band, and then I used to sing in a cover band for 10 years and some, different events. And then I felt like I want to express myself more authentically. So I started to write song after watching the Amy Winehouse story, the movie. It was very inspirational, and she is such an icon to me. And I watched her writing songs in the movie, and I said, okay, maybe I shouldn't wait for a songwriter or a producer or whoever, to work with me. I can do it by myself. And at that time, I worked in a theater at the Budapest Operetta Theater of Hungary, and it's a really big one. And I played in a musical, and I was 1 hour there before the actual time of the rehearsal or show, whatever, I don't know, by mistake. And I was sitting in my car, and I, started to do some melodies and some lyrics, and I realized I wrote my first ever song about my actual feelings as a woman, and about a guy. Obviously, I think the first songs are always love songs, especially unfulfilled love. So I wrote that song, and then I realized, oh my God, I just wrote a song. This is my upcoming album, Stay, and with 10 original records and songs on that I wrote, and 2 remixes, and it has dropped on the 22nd of August.
Obviously, we wrote about love, which we all been through, and heartbreak,
yeah.
and personal development. But why was something written about the environment?
When I went to Berkeley, that was my first time in the US, and I traveled a lot, and I was I spent a lot of time alone, and I started to think about our world, our earth, our environment, and I realized that it's actually like the biggest problem in the world right now. And there were also some guys, some huge names and politicians who started to deny that actually global warming is happening, and it just pissed me off. It's like, I was like, no, it's like science. So nobody is in the position to deny, what's going on with science, what is proved on mathematics and physics and chemistry. And I started to worry, and I started to also questioning, like, myself as a singer, as an entertainer, if it's like good enough to do something about, is it enough to, to do something about these kind of things. And then they just told me about Sam Cooke and artists like him at Berkeley. They really made a change in the culture as well. And then I thought, okay, then this might be a calling me, to write a song about this. And I had the idea that the earth comes to me begging, to do something, and that she would need a lawyer to protect her rights. And so that's what I was picturing in front of me. So this is how I wrote Lawyer of the Earth.
Is there something that you go to? Is it meditation? Is it prayer? Is it what do you use when you are having a tough day or a tough moment when you're questioning yourself?
Well, I write a lot. When something bad happens or I'm just stressed or frustrated, writing always helps, not only songs, but a diary, I would say. So just, to just express yourself.
Where did this author career come about, and why the emphasis on children's book, and especially things that have to do with animals?
So I have always wanted to write, and I think the publishing industry is probably similar to the film industry in that rejection is a part of it. So I like to tell the story that I actually got my first rejection letter when I was 9 years old. I had written a story in my third grade class that I thought should be published. And so I took our yellow pages, and for people too young to know what that is, we used to have thick telephone directories of local businesses. And so we didn't have the internet back then. So that's how I did my research. And I snuck some envelopes and stamps from my mother's desk and sent off this story. And it came back. I got a letter back a couple weeks later saying, this was not the type of project they typically took on. And in hindsight, we didn't have publishers in my area. So I think I sent it to a printer or an office supply shop. But I just think that story shows that this is something I've always wanted to do. It's been in my blood and my heart. And I am fortunate that I have more time to devote to it now.
The story of a canine, and you told me it's a true story. I read about it, but I'd love to hear it, obviously, from the horse's mouth, of a canine dog that helps find slippery cats, as we like to call them. How did you discover about this?
So this is actually the story of my nephew's kitten, and the kitten really can open doors. And the family went on vacation, and they have two dogs. And in the story, there's only one, just to keep it simpler. But the kitten, actually, there were two dogs, and they were used to one kennel. So they went to one kennel that didn't take cats. So Daisy was sent to a different kennel. It was right after the pandemic. Like everything was opening up, and so the entire family went. My sisters, their families. So she had to send the pets to a kennel. It was vet recommended, and the first night she was there, Daisy escaped. She opened a window. It was one of the windows with a lever handle, and so she was able to slide it and popped out the screen, and she was gone. And the kennel owner obviously felt horrible. And so he hired a canine tracker, a dog trained to find missing pets. And I had never heard of this, and I just thought it was fascinating. And I thought kids would think kids love dogs. They love pets. I just thought they would think it was fascinating too. And of course, I knew I could never write the story if the real Daisy didn't have a happy ending. But thanks to Hopper, the German Shepherd, it took 23 days, but she was reunited with her family.
Because of course we see dogs and cats get along great. We see that in America's Funniest Videos all day long,
Yeah.
which is, defying what the people talk about. How is it that a canine would not be hunting down a kitten or a cat?
So it's a lot of training, and I don't recall how many hours, but the dog goes through a lot of training, and the dog is trained specifically to find missing pets. And when I first heard of it, I had in my mind that like the dog was actually going to go and retrieve the kitten, and that is not the case. So what they did is they brought Hopper to the window that Daisy escaped from, and they let Hopper smell one of Daisy's blankets so she would learn her scent, and then she began to track her and tracked her to a wooded area not far from the kennel. And then she just sat and wouldn't move. And so that behavior told her handler that Daisy was close by.
Are you donating any of the proceeds to the charities, or are you tied with this organization that does offer this? Because I wish there would be in my neighborhood in Los Angeles. I have never heard of them. So are they national, and are you helping spread the word about what they do?
My hope is that, this story sheds light on this other amazing service that dogs perform. And I do have a curriculum guide on my website. I'm a former educator, so I have a full curriculum guide. It's about literacy. It's about social emotional learning skills. And then there's a research where they can research other services that dogs perform. And so there's a whole list of things that, from helping the hearing impaired and the vision impaired, and diabetes alert and seizure alert and allergy alerts, and the list is growing as I've shared the book with more people about different services that dogs perform. So I do hope that helps to spread the word. But as far as donating proceeds, what I wanted to do is I wanted to do something animal related, but also something that impacts children, since my whole career has been, revolved around children and youth and literacy. And so I decided that I wanted to donate proceeds to organizations that provide therapy animals. So when I was at the Children's Advocacy Center, I was, as part of the multidisciplinary team, I would hear stories of kids, especially teenagers, who were resistant to therapy, just making such amazing progress with animal assisted therapy. And then at the organization, one of the organizations that I write grants for now, recently started an animal therapy program. And again, I just keep hearing these amazing stories. And so I chose two organizations that I wanted to support.
I always believe that, I always say hashtag it takes a village. It is not just about, people who are super famous. It's also who the citizens, the normal citizens, and people that surround us, our neighbors, our friends, and the little differences that they make. It is so worthy of celebration. And I celebrate you and I salute you. And thank you so much for doing what you do and doing your best and contributing to this. And hopefully, with this podcast, you'll get more awareness and hopefully more contributions. And as a side note to the animal therapy, I'm going to say we are developing a show with one of my clients who is a TV personality, and it is all about rescues, but it also does highlight all these worthy organizations that are saving farm animals, equine therapy, animal therapy. It's so important. It is so important to have that awareness and allowing the children, because they are the future generation, right? We're not going to be around by the time they grow up. Well, we will be, but by the time they become grandparents, we probably won't be around. And so we want the new generations to have some gifts from us, and you certainly offered some.